It's not about it's not about super articulating some value of false universal principles, especially from here. So you get all this, oh, this is over here in the universe, and this is the name of this universe, and these are this people. All that is a level of confusion. And it's based off the value of making you believe in other than the fact that it's one source energy that's not human. And that source energy created everything in existence. Soon as you tally off that, as soon as you start to tilt and you go another direction, no matter how simple that is where you start damaging yourself. That's where you start damaging your connection with the divine. Almighty is almighty, and it's not going to bend because you have a different thought pattern. But you have energies out here that know this, because that's how they got stuck. That's how they got banished from being indifferent to the almighty of things. You don't question the almighty. You can't question the almighty. And this is what ego is actually created of. So you have people saying things like, oh, you ain't got a point of view. You can't say this. You can't do that. You didn't have a point of view when you was being made. So what are you talking about? Like, one thing has nothing to do with the next. You have all power to make decisions, free will, and whatever you want to do in your life. But you didn't have no understanding, and not even the scientists had an understanding. This is why things are studied. This is why things are studied and relabeled, so therefore you can have a comprehension of it. What is that? What is that in itself? It's like if you want to use an example, it's a church with pastors making money. You selling the almighty. So no, there's not nothing in the universe that's going to benefit or value. You can have falsities that will be more powerful than the creation or understanding of where you at. And therefore you'll find a way to, out of fear, put all your belief into that, or put all your faith into that, or subject yourself to whatever energy you want to subject yourself to. Even though you have the direct truth of value that exists every day. People die. The soul leaves the body. Another life is born. And this constant rotation constantly happens over and over and over. And in amongst all that, you have something trying to control your outlook on these things by giving you false titles, false retrospects, false hope, and initiation values that have nothing to do with life itself. But you'll jump into the wavelength of all that just to boost your ego. You don't have an ego. I told a story, right, a long time ago. It was a dream I had. And through the dream, it got to this point to where towards the end of the dream, I started running super fast. And it was like a slope like this that kind of went off. And that slope, I hit it, boom, and flew off the earth. Flew off the earth, and I'm just going through space. I'm flying super, super high, and I come to this mass that I was an atom to it. Not even an atom. I was like so tiny to it, but I'm just like floating like, wow, this is so big. And like it scared scariness out of me. It didn't make me stronger. It just blew scariness to another feeling that I didn't even know exists, because I was terrified. But it was so magnanimous, might be the word, because that's like so forgiving to something extra large or something like that. It was like boom, and it blew fear back to something else I didn't know I could fear or feel. And it was just crazy feeling, sitting there looking at this mass of whatever it was. It wasn't light, it was just a mass. Divine is almighty, yo. Period. It's even disrespectful to call it divine. That's why it's a respect intention behind just saying divine, because we created these words to create a word that explains something that has given names to everything. Think about what I'm saying. You're creating terms and understandings that has created names for everything in existence from another point of view. So from where creation has started and its timeline has existed, everything has a name. You don't know your real name. That's why you're given one. You don't know what the sun is called. This is why you call it that. You don't even know what water is. Like, you don't know what nothing is. That's why y'all walk around with entitlement and you make false judgments and retrospects towards stuff that have nothing to do with the divine. It's a fact. So in this world, we have to impress or encroach energy on people to feel better about the existence that we have for yourself. The job is to let go of everything, because you spent a lifetime through DNA and through being recreated, grabbing on to stuff, whether that's finances, whether that's somebody, people, places, and things, manipulation, lying, cheating, stealing, whatever. All these things that exist in the world, being angry, being aggressive, being abusive, whatever these things that come with the world of you impressing energy on the creations of the divine, is where we failed at. Not for nothing, that was taught to you by the fallen. It knew to separate that as a value, because our strongest point was the fact that we came here together. Creations that were made from the divine was always together. Divine didn't say, I'm gonna make you, and then I'm gonna make you, and I'm gonna make you, and I'm gonna make you. Divine didn't say that. Divine made light seeds. Boom. Light seeds. Boom. They're there. That creation came into fruition. It was the only thing here at one point. And then those seeds got cracked open like walnuts. Got the shell taken off, and the shell was used for fertilizer. You see what I'm saying? It started being things, parts of these values started being used to create other things. And we can go down that wormhole if you like, but I'm giving you the short understanding of it. So no energy in that retrospect, it should be used as far as an explanatory retrospective value. Like, oh, this is this, and you're giving people, we have a pamphlet for you to understand the universal principles of the Palladian. Like, that's the dumbest ish I ever heard in my life. Nobody, like, divine is so simple. It's nothing that you have to do but connect to the divine and keep everything out of breaking that connection with it. And it has to be sincere. Your heart sincere. You know that feeling you get when something you love is in trouble and you want to protect it? That's sincerity. That's what sincerity is. That feeling in between you fighting for something of value, when you can tell that it's going through something, you want to protect it. See, that got removed in so many forms as the years went by, and people gave up on true love and started making assessments and assumptions on trading love for materialistic value. People use people. That's just what life is about. They use people. And divine says, how are you going to use what you came here with? Think about what I'm saying. So these characters that people carry, is taking them to another mentality. It's put you out of the mind divine brought you here in and placed you in another mind. And that mind that you hold deeming is against everything that divine stands for. This is why religions aren't real. Because they try to change your mind and the outlook on it. If religions were so real, this right here kills the whole circumstance. Whatever religion you believe in, if it's real, right, in that retrospective, what you want to call reality or real, the name that the Almighty has, as soon as you speak it, creation falls off your lips, no matter what it is. That's the power of saying the true name of the Almighty. You couldn't stand next to that. You couldn't say the name of the Almighty. You couldn't speak the name of the Almighty. It's not something that you can do, because it's Almighty. That's the short term of us explaining that as a value. We constantly disrespect its existence because your mind has already been wiped clean of what that really means. And it's formulated out of the values of what you feel through your flesh and the particular understandings that exist here in the earth, coupled with the oppression of the fallen. And their oppression came from them making a mistake and going against the Almighty. So the point was to make sure that the seeds were able to fall down through their creational aspect to a even playing field like them, they'll never get back to the divine pretense, because the divine is watching them. They'll never get back to where they came from. That's not a thing. The only thing that will possibly save the fallen, and it's crazy, I was thinking about this earlier, they've created so many things that are like as strong or stronger than, right? If you was to see the fallen in full totality and they was out here trying to give unconditional love, that would like shake the foundation of everything. It would shake it, but then they would have to die at that point. They would literally, because that would see, look, that would break that as a reality, right? And then they would have to be seen at that point. So while they're being seen at that point, they would have to die and be remade. Nothing gets fixed. It dies and it's remade. So you have to understand, and this is something I've been saying this for years, yo, like 20, 30 years plus, right? Since I was a teenager. Learn the lesson before divine forces you to learn it. If you can get the lesson before you're forced to learn it, you're in good standing with the Almighty, because you get so many opportunities to fix things. You get so many opportunities to walk in the right direction, but you choose not to. And you think you're hurting, like you think you're doing something to somebody else. No, you're not. You're digging a hole. You're digging a ditch. I just know, me personally, it's not even a conversation. Once you can see through the actions of what's being forced to happen, opposed to you just sitting down and standing next to the divine, then you start realizing it's going to be so many things that try to hurt you at your worst. That ain't nothing but the fallen doing whatever they can to try to, and see, it's crazy because I'm going to show you how slow they is. You'll show them where your vulnerability is by how you respond to things. So they'll try to use your vulnerability against you, just to see if you break and get weak, because they feed off of your emotional contact. Keep in mind, you're spending energy when you're emotional. If you go back to one of the videos I was dropping, about a week or so ago, and I was talking about how you spend energy on things. That's how they can tell what you're vulnerable by. It's a fact. I don't make none of this up. I just know it. Divine come right to me, and I have classes with the Almighty. I've had classes with Thoth. I've had classes with different beings. In each class, I would graduate. And I'm in these classes in another world, in a dream state. I've did so many different things in the dream state. Like, and at this point, I know dreams ain't what they are. We just call it that. That's not even a name for them. I really think it's interdimensional travel. Like, if you want to be honest about it, I think that's the real way to travel. But if you're stripped of universal power, you'll call it whatever you want to call it, because other things are trapped here. Obviously, you see them trying to take spaceships and fly through and can't get out of here. So what's the other way you would literally get out of here? You would have to walk out of here. So you would have to go inside to come out. If divine says your timelines, that means you were created and you have many timelines. So your consciousness, and I think they were trying to comprehend this in a religion of animism hundreds of years ago in Africa. I think they were trying to understand this, but they couldn't really see it in full totality. So they made retrospects to watch how things would come into existence, because they would say, energy can actually go into an animal or go into this or da da da. And they were close, but not really solidifying that understanding, right? Just my particular understanding on it from my experiences, right? I believe that there are existences and time frames that are still relevant. You're just not in that time. And when you go into a deep sleep, you can jump in between time lines that you existed on. depending on how well your life was in these particular timelines, and that's according to you being connected to the divine. That's what they mean by lining yourself up. So you have a higher self, and I heard this brother talking about, oh, the higher self is on the outside of the ice wall. That's another time. That's another time, and you know it because outside of this time, like they tell you when you get down there, the sun doesn't set. So that's a different time. Past that wall, it changes time. So time starts to change. If I go to Amsterdam, the time is different. I've been to Amsterdam. The days are different. It feels different. People are different. The energy is different. Completely. You can go to different places and the time is different. So I believe these timelines are relevant. So this is why I believe they don't like, because I had this Jewish guy get mad at me that he was a friend of mine, get mad at me and say, why'd you go over there? I was like, what you yelling for? Like, he wasn't even happy that I went on a trip. He was mad that I went to Amsterdam. It like pissed him off. And you know what I comprehended from that? First I thought it was jealousy, but my mind was picking up on another energy. Because when I went over there, I experienced things. I seen giants. I seen people over there taller than 8 feet. Right? They were just in regular clothes. These people were huge. I seen like a ogre shaped dude, like shoulders broader than it was. Like I seen things over there that was normal to them, but it was astronomical to me. So this is my understanding in between dreaming and forms of reality. I believe that when you dream, you go into your other bodies, but how far you are removed from the divine, you can't see clear. So it seems like it's a fog. It seems like it's a fog, and you're just like, oh, I was asleep. I had a crazy dream. No, you were in your other body. Now when I dream, it's real. Like I feel everything. I can touch money. I can grab stuff from the store. Like I'm late for things. Like things really happen. Like last night, I had a dream. Me and my homie jumped on a train, and it was a different type of train. And the train stations was different. And we ended up going from one place to this other place that was kind of like Japan or something like that. And we got there, we got off, and when he went head to the dorm, and he was like, yo, this is where we at. So I was like, yo, I'm hungry, da 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 da. And I got off the train. I'm like fumbling stuff like I normally do if I was at a train station. I'm like this. My character's like that when I do, like I get all nervous and stuff like that. So I'm over there, and I'm like, yo, I get off the train, and I walk across the street or whatever, and I went to the place, and I'm like, yo, I'm hungry, da da da. And he's like, yo, and I had money in my pocket. I had the money that was relevant for the place, right? So I stuck my hand in my pocket, and I pulled out a wad of the money. But the bills were like large, like rectangle, and they were wide. So I ended up ripping one of the bills in half. It was a red bill too. It was like red and white or something like that. And I was going to use that to pay for the food. And I was like, yo, I ripped the bill. And it was like, we can't take that. And I was like, man, I really wanted the food. I had already ordered it for some reason. Or they knew what I was about to order, like I was a regular. So after I ripped the bill in half, they was like, don't even worry about it. And they gave me the food anyway. They was like, we don't need the money, but just go ahead. I was like, I'm sorry. And I felt embarrassed. Like, and they was like, don't feel like that. You all right? And they was like looking normal. Like, why is he embarrassed? It was like a thing. Like, even if you damage the money, it's cool. You still get what you want. So I took the food and I started walking across the street. And I remember picking an apple, or a type of apple off the tree. And something in my head was like, wash the fruit off. And then I automatically thought about me being back in this time when I'm picking like scuffernines or grapes off the trees out here, and I don't wash them off. I just wipe them on my shirt and I eat them. You know what I'm saying? And that's the first thing I had a thought, and that was crazy because I had a thought as a memory of being here doing what I was told to do while I was over there. And I picked the apple, which was shaped funny, off a tree, wiped it off, threw it in my pocket, went to the building over there, and I went into the hallway, and my homie was like, yeah, go ahead in the back and put your stuff up. And it was like a dorm. It kept saying in my mind, dorm, this is a dorm. This is where you're staying, in a dorm. I don't know why that kept echoing in my head. So I'm like, okay, I'm in a dorm. You know what I'm saying? So I went in there and I sat on the bed, and he came around It's some other little things that stood out too that I'm not going to speak on because I'm still trying to find out what's the point of all that. He had a girl with him and all that, and I was just chilling like, and we was in there, and I'm like laying across the bed like this. I'm laying across the bed, and my bag is like right at my feet. And I'm like, yo, man, I got my food. I was like, yo, I ripped the money, though. I don't know. He's like, you ripped the money? I was like, yeah, I tried to pull the money out of my pocket, and it ripped when I pulled it out of my pocket. He's like, don't even worry about it. It's all right. So I remember him walking past me and going into another room that was like at the end. You know what I'm saying? But it was like a living room, a kitchen, and there wasn't really rooms. It was like offsets. Like how a living room is offset, the bedrooms was offset. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that room was offset to the kitchen, and then there was a door at the end that was another room. It was weird. So I'm like, all right. For me saying all this to you is to get you to understand that I really believe that we are lost on a timeline. That's why I think people are. That's why they don't understand nothing. That's why they got you believing you can fly spaceships and leave and aliens and all this other stuff, because they need you to believe in this world, so you never leave. You never find out how to go, right? But to line up yourself means to line up all your existences, to line up yourself with now and all the lives that you've already been in. It's like remembering, not really remembering, but getting in touch with the divine to fix what was already lined up. So they gave you religion to falsify this as a value, so you never ask the right questions, to oppress you in a mentality. But the deeper understanding to that is you got to have respect. So if divine created your timeline, it's not for you to pray for things. It's not for you to pray for salvation and happiness and money and all this. Go to the Almighty and ask the Mighty to fix what it created for you already. Go to the Almighty and be sincere in your heart, so then divine know you're really reaching out to that source of energy. And don't ask for stuff. Ask to fix what was already given. That's respect. You're not going to get nothing else. You might not be ready to be in your light body right now because of how far you removed from the lineup. So then if you ask divine to fix what was broken, you can start lining things back up, and you'll start getting these feeds of information that already exist with you. Otherwise, you asking for stuff that don't even exist in your timeline. See the confusion? See the confusion? That's the point. That's why they create TVs, and it's by a plasma screen, and it can control ideals inside of you that you think you may want for yourself. And these retrospects of value is just to keep you off of the fact. So now you get emotional about your life. You start taking on ownership about the life that you're stuck here. They have to cause problems in your life to keep you here, so you can wonder why and need it to be fixed, right? So emotionally, that sincerity starts to fall in your emotion, which knocks you completely off other timelines. Keep in mind, if you've already lived these timelines, then that means those lives remember you. You just don't remember them. And your belief in this timeline is keeping you from being connected to all your selves. All of yourselves. It's an umbilical cord that connects you to all of your lives, where your energy has been. It's not the energy doesn't break. Nothing can break divine energy. That's how your soul goes from one body to the next. Nobody's speaking about how it actually travels. So if your soul was going to leave this body and go somewhere else, they would have to have a way to tether that back into this existence. But if you was in tune with the source energy, then that means it's a pulse. Right now is where the largest pulse at, because this is where we are existing right now. So that pulse can literally ride that umbilical cord of light that's unseeable by us, and it can go right back to another place. That's reanimism. That's why people used to say, I don't believe in reincarnation. You don't reincarnate. You go from one timeline to the next, depending on how ready you are for your life existence. And if you have risen your life enough, you can leave residual energy behind to run this situation. So they don't want you to get your light that big to where you can sustain this existence. You become literally like a living pagoda. Nobody's going to tell you what I'm telling you right now. All praises to the Most High. Divine said, I knew you before you was in the womb. Divine knew you before you was in the womb. Divine created your timeline and gave you a name that's supposed to follow you through existence. If you was able to speak your name, your true name, and you know what's crazy? I can ask Divine to help me see clearly in my dreams. And that energy will take place and I can see my dreams clear as day. But if I ask Divine to tell me my name, it's like something's blocking that for some reason. It's like that question never gets given for some reason. Like that question never gets put on the table of the Divine. Like Divine don't never get that question. Or so I can, and it feels like it's it doesn't feel like a bad thing. It just feels like that inquiry never goes in for some reason. Like something higher up is not letting that come in. And not for nothing, if we are all a part of the Divine, what if our name is the Divine because we're just light or pieces of the Almighty? So then my name is literally the name of the Almighty because I'm created by it. I'm just at a point to where I'm so low from that higher standard of light, I don't have that as an access point. So what if that understanding meant for you to carry the name of the Divine would allow you to go to your next life whenever you see fit, or go back to other lives when you see fit? This is real time travel, your timeline. So you would really only travel on your timeline. So if they were stripped of all universal power, that means they were stripped of the divine names that allowed them to travel in between times. They were supposed to be of service. So now they're stuck here. So their thing is to try to get one of us to give them the divine name. But since they've been stripping the energy and causing so much calamity, they've allowed us not to have that name. So it's like we're trapped here with them because we possibly could access it. It gets deep, but I ain't gonna hold you. Just trying to show you something. NAGA the Wise.